welcome to round 2. Guys, this is the back 9, also known as the front 9 here at this golf course, but it is the back 9 for me. If you haven't already watched the front 9 video, it is going to be down in the link below. But let's get started. So hole 1 is called easy par. So if you haven't noticed, those little words below the hole information is actually the name of the hole. So we'll take note about why this is called an easy par and what happens after this. This is my tee shot, and I actually just slipped and completely hit it in the heel of the driver face, and this is where I ended up. So much for an easy par. So I am just checking here to make sure that there aren't any tree roots around me, because you do not want to hit a tree root and break your arm, especially when there's really nothing at stake here. So I'm hitting a 5-iron here, a punch shot, and what I really wanted to do is to make sure that I don't take too much divot, because the ground there, just because it's in the tree areas, you do need to pay attention to the ground conditions, because most of the time it's kind of sandy and you do not want to be taking too much divot, because then you're just going to be, well, not hitting a good shot. But anyway, I hit it in that bunker in front, as you can see in this clip. So as I mentioned before, so much for an easy par, definitely making me work for it, and definitely a very deceiving name. Thanks a lot, hole. So this was my bunker shot, and actually I don't think the bunkers are really in play because there weren't any rigs around. So as you can see, there are footprints all around the bunker, so there was definitely no spin on that shot, but somehow made a par, guys. So not too bad, not an easy par, but still a par. Let's move on to the next hole, which is a par 5, and I do not know why this is called rock face. Maybe I don't know, guys. Somebody explain to me why this is called rock face, or why you think this is called rock face. But anyway, this is a little bit of a dogleg right par 5. It is, and well, it's not a long par 5 and it's not a short one either, so just hitting the drive out there. I was aiming towards that bunker down there because it's not reachable for me, and I actually ran a little bit out of fairway again. So again, as I mentioned in the front 9, this is just part and parcel of playing a golf course that you're not so used to. Your aims might not leave you in the best position. I've run out of fairway a couple times, but it is not too bad here, just in the rough. And I was looking at my ball over there just now because there is a little bit of mud down the right side of the ball, so just gotta pay attention to things like that, because you do not want to hit a really good shot and then, get a bad result. But this fairway actually slopes a lot more to the right, and I didn't really realize that. So I actually hit it down the center, but it actually kicked down here and almost into this rough here. And the ground is very, very wet, so I am definitely trying not to take a divot here. The pin was behind, and you do need to carry it a bit because there's a little bit of a slope before the green, so you definitely want to make sure you have enough club here. And as I said, was trying not to take a divot, but just not a bad shot, just not a good shot either, not a great shot. So left myself with this putt for birdie. So obviously with a pitching wedge, would have liked to stuck it closer, but it is on a green. Unfortunately, this putt was a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be, and I think it was because that after the pin there was actually a downhill slope. From here, as you can see, I'm definitely putting uphill, and again, this is my par putt. It was a good about 5, I think it was a 5-footer, and unfortunately just broke off. So a very unfortunate 3 jab there on rock face. And we'll move on to hole 3, which is called the Nicklaus Pond. So this course is actually designed by Jack Nicklaus, and that is why it is called the Nicklaus Pond. This was it was a long hole for me. I'm using a hybrid here, and the pin was in front, but it was a good distance. It was about 181 to carry the water and 188 to the pin, so definitely was hitting it more towards the left side of this green. And if you can see, the water definitely extends towards the right side, so it's more carry distance the more right you hit it. And with the conditions today, I knew I was cutting it pretty close with this hybrid, so just playing towards the left side of the green and it was just a little bit too far left, but I definitely was not complaining with the distance of this hole and the club that I'm hitting. So just hitting a 58-degree wedge here and doing a little bump and run. I think you can see from the slope there, the green does slope a little bit right to left, and it's almost like in a little valley, the pin position today, because the left side slopes down as well. So yeah, it's right in the center of the valley, so not the easiest, but left myself with about a 4-footer left for par and drained it. So move on to the next hole. So this next hole is a par 4 and a very long one, as you can tell. It's called Sunrise Strip, and I do not know why either, but it is definitely not something pleasant because it was so long. Like, especially with the conditions today, I knew before I teed off, I said I think I'm going to be hitting a 3-wood for my second shot. So again, actually, if you looked at the front 9, this is very similar to the par 5, which is actually right next to this hole. So they have almost the exact same look. There's just bunkers down the left side. So on a long hole like this, definitely want to hit the fairway, because if you're in a bunker, that is a 3-shot hole, and then you might as well just try and play it like a par 5. But thankfully, I hit the fairway. I had 212 yards, and the pin was a little bit on the left side, and there is a bunker in front of the pin today, so I was definitely going out towards the right side here, just aiming for the right side of the green, and just if it draws and goes close to the pin, good. If not, well, at least I would have an easier chip rather than being in a bunker. Also, I'm hitting a 3-wood here, so setting the expectations, well, basically giving myself good expectations to know that I want to hit a good shot, but also at the same time know that I'm hitting a 3-wood. So hitting a 3-wood into a par 4, you definitely want to just put yourself in a good position to make sure that you can at least try and get it either near the green or on the green if you can. But as you can see from this clip, I'm just off the green. It did not draw back like as much as I wanted to, but it went pretty straight, so that's why I'm just on the right side of the green. But a pretty simple chip here, 58-degree wedge and a little bumper there, and I actually did not think it was going to break that much to the left, but it did break quite a bit, so I left myself with about a 6-footer for par. And I think it's quite funny how, to me, this video, this definitely does not look like a 6-footer. It looks more like a 3-footer, but I think it's just the camera angle. But yeah, a really good par on a really long hole. So let's move on to hole 5. So it is quite funny if you guys have ever realized, I feel like hole 3 is always a par 3 and hole 5 is always a par 5. Do you guys have the same experience, or is it just me? But anyway, this hole is called Sungal Long, which is the name of this golf course. So clearly it is a long one. There is water down the right side, and there are some nasty stuff down the left side. So just aiming towards the left side of this fairway here, and I hit a good drive there and left myself on the fairway. So for my second shot, still definitely hitting a 3-wood, a real long ways to go. As I mentioned before, it is a long hole. So again, there is still water down the entire right side of this hole. There is a bunker down the left side as well, which I was definitely going to be able to carry that. So just making sure that I choose a good target, and my target for this hole was actually the left side of that right bunker. Hit a good 3-wood there and left myself with a third shot from the center of the fairway, which is exactly what I wanted. So I'm hitting a 5-iron here from 173 yards. The pin is behind, and you can actually very clearly see it on this video, but in person I definitely did not notice how much of a downslope I was standing on. And that is kind of a rookie mistake, but sometimes it happens. And I actually hit pretty decent contact, but my ball just leaked out to the right, and that's definitely because of the slope. But it's alright, it's dry and in the bunker, so just gave myself a tougher 4th shot here. But yeah, 4th shot from the bunker, hitting a 58-degree wedge, and hit an okay one, but the bunkers were just so wet and dense. So definitely was not flying. It was quite hard to get it out of there, and left myself about a 12-footer for par. So definitely not ideal, but sometimes even unlikely pars can happen. So never give up until the ball's in the hole. Made a good par there. And let's move on to hole 6. So this is one of the shorter holes. These next 2 holes are definitely one of the shorter holes on this course, or on this 9 as well. So if you are able to, definitely take advantage of this hole and the next hole. This is called Boomerang, and actually the hole is all the way on the right side here, and thus the name. You can't even see the pin from where we were teeing off, but because, well, obviously the conditions don't make it as short as it could be, it's definitely making it a lot longer. And I carried a driver about 225, so that's basically all the distance I'm getting today. Definitely not getting any rolls, so it's still a decent length par 4 for me, as compared to somebody who maybe hits 300 yards. You could definitely go for the green if you hit it close to 300 yards, because you could cut the corner and definitely get it really close. So anyway, I still left myself with 113 yards, so I'm hitting a pitching wedge here. This green is a little bit elevated, so you do want to make sure you have enough distance. I see that as a little bit of a trend here as well. They have quite a little bit of a false front on quite a few holes, so you definitely want to make sure you have enough club on these holes, and you can definitely see it from the fairway as well. So it's not that tricky that you can't notice the false front, but you do want to pay attention to that. This was my birdie putt, and it was a left to righter, but I definitely did not think that it was going to break as much as it did. So just another tap in par, unfortunately, but a par is a par. I do feel like I'm giving myself enough opportunities for birdie because of the conditions and stuff, and it's not that I'm hitting it that far from the hole, but it's just not dropping today. So it could just be one of those days, or it could just be that the greens here are pretty tricky as well. So definitely not discounting the green. I think they are quite tricky, so make sure that you pay extra attention to the lines and stuff. And if you have a caddy, obviously if they're local caddies, they obviously know the greens very well. So anyway, let's move on to the next hole, which is the Sahara hole. So this is called Sahara because there's actually bunkers down the entire right side of this fairway, and I actually just ran out of fairway. So even though I'm not at a bunker, I am still in Sahara. So again, obviously this is, close to the rough, near the tree area, so you do want to make sure you make good contact. And clearly it is kind of a sandy area, so hitting a pitching wedge here just to make sure I have enough club, because if it's very easy to just hit the back or hit a chunky shot on conditions or lies like this. So do make sure that you catch the ball clean. And I actually hit a pretty decent shot, but I did not realize that past the pin it was actually a downslope. So my ball actually was okay, but I think it just hit that downslope and rolled over. So I left myself here with a chip. And it's not ideal. As I mentioned, these 2 holes are definitely short holes that you do want to take advantage of, and I'm definitely not making it easy for myself. But that happens sometimes, and it's alright. So let's move on to the next hole, which is a par 3. So this par 3, actually the left side is a conjoining, what would you call it, a joint green. It's joining the 6-hole green. So this is a huge green, and there are a few holes where this happens on this golf course. So it's definitely important to make sure that you hit it on the right side of the green, because you could be left with like 150-foot putt. So you definitely do not want that.
Oh yes.
So from this tee box, this green actually looks a little bit downhill, but it is actually quite deceiving because it's downhill but the green is uphill. So I actually hit a decent shot, but just because it was deceiving and I thought it was going to be over, I hit a very soft hybrid, but I could have definitely just hit a full hybrid there. So I'm still on the green. It was straight at the pin. It was just too short, so I left myself with about a 70-footer here, I would say. So definitely make sure that on this hole you're choosing the right distance and just committing to your club. It is definitely a lot longer and playing the actual distance. So this was my birdie putt, and a very, very long one. Just making sure I get a good distance here. And this is definitely a 3-putt territory. So hit a pretty good putt there and give with a little gimme par. So not too bad. And moving on to the last hole, which is called Waterfall. So there is actually a stream running down the center of this fairway, but it's definitely too far for me to reach. it is actually like closer to the green than the fairway. So I mean I think it's about 80 yards from the green, so it's definitely not reachable with the tee shot. But you do want to hit more towards the left side of this fairway, because on the right side you're going to be blocked by the trees. They do come in a little bit, and especially depending on what club you're hitting into the green, you do want to make sure you hit more towards the left side. So I hit a good shot there, but actually ran out of fairway again. So I'm just in the slight rough here. I'm hitting a 5-wood here because, as I said, there is a stream running down the center of the fairway. So it did look a lot longer to me than 188 yards. So I decided to go with a 5-wood, and I'm aiming it actually kind of towards the pin because there is a bunker down the right side. And I just did not hit a good shot there. So definitely not ideal on a really long hole to leave yourself far off the green. And especially with this pin position today, did not give myself a lot of space. So I'm just trying to hit a little bump and run here.
How to up and down this?
Okay, Jack. One check and in the hole. That's good.
I think I need to land it short.